And now our host, Stephen Lee Morris.
Gary Grossman is the producing artistic director of the Skylight Theater located in the Los Feliz district of Los Angeles. The Skylight Theater is one of the 5 longest running theaters in the region. Gary is also a community leader who has organized weekly Zoom meetings of artistic directors from across the region throughout the pandemic. The purpose of these meetings has been to forge a kind of cooperation and sustainability for the sector. Gary Grossman, welcome to Animal Farm.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
So the first question I had is about environment. You are in the state is opening up mid-June, and with all kinds of changes, such as if everyone in a room can be proven that they've been vaccinated, there's no mask requirement. This is a major shift from the past year, almost year, year and 3 months. What, as a producer, what is your sense of the comfort level of audiences as they return? Because there's one thing about theater makers saying we're going to pack the houses, and that's a very different thing when the survey put out by LA County, for instance, Bronwyn, the researcher over at the LA County Department of Arts and Culture, they did surveys and they asked audiences. The audiences have very little confidence that they can believe their fellow audiences to have actually gotten vaccinated.
Yeah.
They don't take them at their word. So I was wondering, what's your sense of?
I think that's a truism. I mean, I think, listen, you know, I feel this is a pre-post-COVID period right now. I feel where we've entered into a new phase, and this phase is still going to be about unknown, things that we don't know anything about. I mean, I've been fully vaccinated, and yet I'm kind of cautious and nervous about walking about. And, you know, we're going into restaurants, but we're contained. We're saying we're going to be 4 of us at a table, or 5 of us at a table, or 2 of us at a table. And that's our bubble still.
Yeah.
And between then and walking out, we're putting masks on. The waiter's coming over with masks. So that's what's changed now. Come June 14th or 15th, everybody is, you know, free to walk around without masks. And the question is that something that we can trust? And I don't know. I mean, I'm a big Dodger fan. All right. I used to be a big New York Yankee fan, but now I'm getting older. I'm here in Los Angeles. I'm a Dodger fan. And they're opening up the place outdoor.
100% capacity.
Yeah. Come June 14th. I'm not ready to sit next to you at a ball game right now if I don't know who you are, you know, and sit elbow to elbow.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I don't know. You asked me about the audience's comfortability. I'm trying to figure out my comfortability, and I'm trying to look at me as an audience member. And I'm an avid theater person. I want to be, you know, I want to see theater, but I'm kind of nervous. I mean, ask me, am I buying tickets or trying to buy tickets to New York to go to see Broadway in September? Yeah, I'm really thinking about it, but there is that part of me that's kind of like, let's wait a little while longer to see what the situation is. Mm-hmm. And I think that's going to be true for everybody. I think it's a very slow, cautionary grade going there. And what?
Do you think there's a difference between Dodger Stadium, which is outdoors, although if you're crunched up against people, I don't know if it makes that much difference. That and say the Atwater Village Theater, which holds 35 seats in an extremely confined space.
Well, and that's what I'm saying to you. Yeah, I mean, I think there is that. You know, if I'm nervous about going to Dodger Stadium, am I more nervous about going to Atwater Theater? And I don't want to put Atwater Theater down, but I mean, or any theater, even my theater, which is we're larger than the Atwater Theater, but it's still, we're confined. And, it's a very, I don't think any of us really are going to know any answers until we start really doing it. And when I say doing it, I'm thinking, because I talked to my staff the other day and I'm saying, enough. I've been happy doing Skylight Live and I'll continue doing the virtual theater that we're doing. We did 37 plays last year via Skylight Live. We had 65,000 people viewing it, more people that could ever get into the Skylight Theater in one season.
Yeah.
And yet I said, I gotta do theater. I gotta do live theater. I cannot do this anymore. So I'm gonna do something in October live. But ask me what? Ask me how? I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm still trying to, figure out what's that next step.
Go.
No,
excuse me. Are you in conversations with your fellow artistic directors?
Yes.
And I'd like to know their sense. And are you in the follow-up question is, are you in contact or in conversation with your audiences?
Yes, we've sent out surveys. We just started sending out surveys to different audiences to find out where they are. Skylight's about to do the same thing. As far as the other theater's concerned, we meet every Tuesday. I know you know that with Atla. And we've got 65, intimate theaters that are getting together and doing that. We've also been meeting with the larger theaters like Pasadena, Geffen, Noise Within, CTG, and talking to them as well. And I think everybody, honestly, is taking the same approach, which is we're committing to it, but watching as we go.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the way to look at it. We don't want to put the actors into a situation of being unsafe.
Yeah.
We don't want to put the audience into a situation of being unsafe.
And so, holy moly, it's doubly complicated. So you've got this apprehension.
Yes.
Now let's layer on to something else, and that is, this is pretty much, we're now in a season where for the first time since the theaters have been functioning, AB 5 will be law. It's true, right. It took effect January 1st, but then the pandemic hit within a couple of months and shut everything down. So it was really irrelevant, but now it's no longer irrelevant. How are you dealing with that, and how are your colleagues dealing with that? And is that putting a different kind of strain on things?
Sure. It's going to, again, it's going to put a financial strain on it. I mean, without a doubt, this, you're going to talk to, I know, Beatrice and Vanessa next week about SB 805, which is a solution possibly to AB 5, which is going to be the rule of the day.
Yeah.
That like it or not, AB5 is here.
No, it's the law. It's the law,
Yeah.
and unless there's a carve out,
Right.
which
And
doesn't
so
exist.
where
Yeah.
the SB 805 is that kind of carve out that will help us. But either way, we're going to have to financially figure out how to not only pay all our actors minimum wage and then cover them workman's comp and do it that way.
This is for rehearsals and performances.
Correct.
Yeah.
But at the same time, our directors, our designers, which all were getting fees, even through the union, as independent contractors, are now going to be salaried. So what that means is we now have to add workman's comp
Yep.
and payroll to those salaries.
Yes.
So for someone like us, Skylight, which is not a membership company, we've been, if we're going to use equity actors or whatever it is, we've started paying payroll. We've been doing that.
Yeah, but whether or not you use equity actors for, if this is state law, it's irrelevant.
Now everybody is going to be doing it. So we've taken part of the jump last year.
Yeah.
To get there.
Yeah.
Now we have to take the next step to get there. For some of these non-membership for the membership companies now, they now have to take the double leap. Not only the designers, but the actors as well. Everybody's got to be an employee, and what that means, and whether or not you can actually use someone as a volunteer and not pay them and give them a stipend, or not even a stipend, basically reimburse them for their expenses.
Yeah, which is much less than they were getting before.
Correct.
So the stipends that you were paying are now technically illegal. They are out of compliance with AB5.
Yeah.
I just want to point out a point of clarification. It's very, very close, but you mentioned that SB 805 provides a carve out, and it may look like a carve out, but it's actually compensation.
That's correct.
Not a carve out. It doesn't exclude anybody from AB5. It's designed to provide funding to the theaters to actually pay its employees and therefore be in compliance with it. But how that is coming through the wash and how much money that's going to be, that's still very much up in the air, and we'll be discussing that next week with Vanessa Stewart and Beatrice Casagran. With that, you've been at this a long time.
Yeah, you could say that. This is going on my 83.
83? Oh,
yeah.
I can't count that high, Gary.
Yeah. So it's that way. We were looking at the other day. I think Skylight's the 5th oldest company, small company in Los Angeles, operating in Los Angeles right now.
2 questions.
Yeah, I've been at this a while.
Has it gotten more difficult, more easy, or both? That's question number 1. And then question number 2, do you see through the decades a higher level of, shall we say, professionalism with what you see on the stage? And I'm not referring just to the Skylight, but across the region.
Yeah, I mean, first off, when has producing theater ever been easy?
Yeah.
So that's the first answer to the question. I thought I had hair. As you can see, I don't. But I mean, did I ever? That's the question I can't figure out right now. And did I lose it because I was producing? Yeah, I think all of the above. I think all of the changes that are starting And this includes the Black Lives Matter. This includes all of the, BIPOC, the diversity conversation, the inclusion conversations, all of the things that are going down right now are important and vital for us to take in. I mean, to think or to accept that I'm an elder statesman in this world right now. I just turned 70. So, I'm in that. And the question is it time for me to, step aside and let the youngins come back in? And what I'm enjoying right
not even
now,
come back and just come in.
let them. And what I'm enjoying right now is the collaboration of it, which is why we all got involved with theater and learning from these companies that I really never knew about. There are 5 or 6 companies that started within the last 6 or 7 years, 6 years, that I really didn't really know. Coin and Ghost, just so many wonderful theater companies and wonderful artists and great ADs. And we're all talking and we're learning from each other and we're trying to figure out what the next phase is and how to, make it equitable, make it, open the doors. I mean, Skylight's always been at the forefront of that. I mean, our 2020 season, if we had gone through it, would have met many of the requirements that are being asked for in the We See You White American theater. And yet we can do much more. And yesterday, after 8 months, basically, of really looking at our culpability, our responsibility to the BIPOC community, we basically have posted our action items of change, of how Skylight's going to change, and what we're doing. And that means, hiring more BIPOC staff, increasing our board to include more BIPOC and marginalized voices, and making sure that our company expands that way and grows that way.
And yet, you have been around a time, you're a veteran, you have experience, obviously, and you have wisdom. And I don't say that hyperbolically or in any way to ingratiate myself with you. And yet you say, yet the question is, when do you let a different kind of leader come in, and do you have plans for that?
Oh yeah, I do. I've started looking at a trajectory of moving on, and stepping aside and, doing that and creating that. But I think it's training. I mean, when I came into the business, we mentored.
Yeah.
And I think that's a part of this.
Yeah.
And I think that's a part of this phase that we're in right now, where we have something to offer, meaning the older rung of the ladder, and we have something to learn also from the younger rung of the ladder. And eventually we have to, the older rung, step aside and allow that to happen. But I think it's a matter of positioning. It's not a turn the switch and a new group comes in.
It's a passing of the torch, as the
yes,
yeah.
yeah. So I am looking for a change.
So when you're no longer, and it's in your frame of reference. Say we're approaching now your 75th birthday, and you're healthy and you're happy. God willing. And what do you see yourself doing?
I'll be with you and the chickens in the garden. I'm just looking at that. I don't know. I mean, I'm looking. I'm looking around. There was a time where I didn't want to have this conversation. I didn't want to. What are you kidding me? I'm going to be here till they, bury me. That's what I want to, I'll die with my boots on. And I think there's other things I can do in theater and art. And I don't need to be the AD.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, I'm looking at all those possibilities. My wife just passed hearing me say that. So it just like, but I think that's true. And it's also true about sitting outside with the chickens and the roosters. So there is something to be said about that too.
Yes, there is. Yes,
yeah, I mean, I don't feel I'm going to Florida to play golf. That's, but there is other worlds that I can do. Yeah.
Gary Grossman, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Mr. Stephen.
Susan Rubio's Senate Bill 805, which is designed to provide funds to theaters of all sizes in order for them to be in compliance with Assembly Bill 5, which requires that actors, designers, and workers in theaters be compensated for rehearsals and performances with minimum wage. That bill, SB 805, made it through the Appropriations and Labor Committees of the Senate. It then went to the Senate floor, and where it was overwhelmingly approved. And now it is moving through a similar process in the Assembly. It is going through the Appropriations Committee and the Labor Committee, and they will be voting on it shortly. Next week, we are joined by two of the advocates who have been advocating for this legislation legislatively. They are also artistic directors of, or at least co-artistic directors of various companies. Vanessa Stewart is the co-artistic director at Sacred Fools Theatre, and Beatrice Casagran is the artistic director of Ophelia's Jump. And next week, they will join us to bring us up to date on the complexities of this political process of trying to save the sector.